Okay, I'm going to get started here. I will be talking today about Western boring insects, and my name is Gabe Radusco. I am our team's regional arborist advisor for Rainbow Ecoscience. I help with the technical support on our products, our equipment, training, offering webinars, class and field sessions. So anything around our products, our equipment, I'm here to support you, and also supporting our territory managers. I you can see all my qualifications there. Just got my ISA, PCA. I just received that, and then also taking the track certification this week. So I'm super excited about that. A lot of experience around the industry with studying plant sciences and working USDA, to the Bay Area with Philo Gardens, and then previously with the Cooperative Extension, working with invasive insects. Just a quick housekeeping slide. Type your questions into the Q&A box using your control panel. We'll all answer questions at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded, and a link will be sent out after the webinar. This is worth one ISA CEU, and I will be giving that code away at the end to keep for your records. And if you didn't enter your ISA CEU number in when you registered, you can enter that into the chat right now. So if you don't already know who Rainbow Ecoscience is, we are a plant healthcare research and development company. We manufacture the products and equipment that help protect our trees and shrubs from pests and pathogens. And here's some of our products, which you probably all are familiar with. And I really like that our mission is about saving trees. We really want to protect them, and continue to protect our urban canopies, and even our wildland canopies. So really all about our mission. And then we do continue to offer field and classroom trainings, webinars, and tech support, as I mentioned. We have a great tech support team. In this picture here, we're doing a research trial on a novel fungicide. And so quick overview, I'll be covering the background biology, host range, and the management for these Western boring insects. And I want to start off with, why should you care? Why do we care about these boring insects? And then I will go into two Ambrosia beetles, the shawl borer and the Mediterranean oak borer, and then two jewel beetles, Budapest. I always mess up that scientific name, Budapesterae. And that's the gold-spotted oak borer, and then the emerald ash borer, and then one snout beetle, which is the South American palm weevil. So again, some of these might be completely new to you, or you're already very familiar with, but I think what's important here is to get an understanding of what could be next in your region, right? We're seeing things being moved around so quickly now that pests and these invasives are moving. They're jumping states now. I just recently heard that the spotted lanternfly had showed up at a border in California, and it was transported on an art installation or some sort of material that it was transported into. The egg sacs were found on this art installation. So I think it's important just to get familiar with these pests, because you never know when it's going to be in your region next. So why do we care about these boring insect species? We should care because they are invasive, and invasive is a species that is not naturally occurring in a place and can cause harm to the environment, economy, and public health. And they can lack the natural predators. They were reproduced very fast and are adaptive. So they affect our people, our economy, our food and water supply, our environment, our human health and safety. And I just included a few different invasive species down there at the bottom. If you know all four of those, you get the gold star for the day. But these invasives damage infrastructure, increase wildfire risks. They cost billions of dollars in control. They can outcompete other crops, clog our waterways, displace native plants and animals. They reduce biodiversity, alter ecosystems, and can endanger our communities. So this is why we care about these um, invasive insects, and these boring, and specifically ones that I'm talking about are the boring insects. So, and I'm specifically talking about the impact that they have on our trees. So the trees have no defense compared to hosts in their native range, and it can cause loss of wildlife, habitat, and food supply. They increase our wildfire risk, as I mentioned. And trees that are already under drought and disturbance stressors, they are usually weaker trees, so they're easier targets. So we can think about things such as compaction, those small spaces they're growing in, heat islands, not getting adequate water. So a tree that's initially weakened is generally going to be a nice host for these boring insects. And when we do, lose these trees, we're losing cleaner air, that loss of energy conservation, runoff reduction, protecting our biodiversity of those insects and wildlife, cooling our temperatures. And my favorite, I really like that they do improve our mental health and then higher property values. So first will be the invasive shot-hole borer. As I mentioned, it's a type of Ambrosia beetle. It's going to be similar to this Mediterranean oak borer. And the ISHB is an invasive Ambrosia that is native to Southeast Asia. And they carry a fungus, and this fusarium that they carry is in these special mouth parts. And these mouth parts are, excuse me, this is, sorry, something's going on. And this fungus grows into that vascular tissue and is what feeds the adults, feeds the larvae, and can kill the tree. And it essentially stops nutrients from translocating up and down the tree there. So this was first discovered in Southern California by Dr. Keith Escalin. And then it is now currently spread throughout all of Southern California. And it is now in the Bay Area. So that's just south of the Bay in San Jose, California. And it's been now found trapped in San Mateo County and Santa Cruz County. And that actually, the new infestation in Santa Cruz is actually a whole new Ambrosia species, along with that fungus as well. So the finding in San Jose prompted the surrounding counties to start trapping. And this is the initial tree that was found with the shot-hole borer. Actually, so that was myself that found that beetle in San Jose in November of 2023. And it was a low infested tree, and I went and checked it 6 months later, but it jumped from a low infestation to a moderate infestation. So it's spreading really quickly and growing pretty fast out there in the Bay Area. A little bit of the biology. So they will bore tunnels into the tree where they will lay their eggs and grow that fungus. And they can actually, they can actually reproduce very fast. So they're able to mate with one another. So that's why they can just really wreak havoc on a tree so quickly, is they're able to repopulate, and they'll create these boring tunnels and this fusarium. So you can actually see that dark area is their galleries, and then that fusarium that is being carried. So signs and symptoms. So with the shot hole borer, the hole, exit hole, and entry hole is about the size of a ballpoint pen. So if you have a ballpoint pen handy, you can bring that in, and that really will help. Generally, you can see the abdomen sticking out, but the symptoms are going to be unique to each species. So this is a sycamore. You can see that staining there. There's going to be different species that I have pictures here that are going to show different signs and symptoms. So they're unique to that tree species. So, but generally it's this wet staining, gumming, white or yellow exudate, and then frass, which resembles sawdust. And then if you actually scrape away that bark, that top layer, you can actually see the fusarium around that entry hole. There's the beetle that I found and sent off to the CDFA to confirm the genetics of to make sure that was shot hole borer. That was the beetle that I found in the Bay Area. So reproductive hosts, there is a nice host list. The cooperative extensions developed, and there's about 70. Well, they like over 202 to 300 different types of species, but for the West, right now it's about 70, and I'm sure that will continue to grow. There's about 18 of our native species. Its favorite is the box elder, and it really likes our California sycamores and London planes, and there's some different signs and symptoms there. Here's a close-up. So gumming, for example, that's something you would see. And then this is a coast live oak. You'll see frass and some staining as well. Just want to give you a visual of the host range of a sycamore and how far widespread it can go. You can see going down into Baja and then as far north of the Central Valley of California. So management, cultural management, keep your trees healthy, and monitoring is important. Avoiding monocultures. I have a great visual slide coming up of monoculture at one of our parks. And then it is possible to just prune out infested branches, and that's a simple way to remove an infestation. And then trapping is only to monitor, so it's not going to actually reduce populations or get rid of the pest. It's only to monitor flight patterns, may help around treatment timing, and you need a cruciferol lure with that to attract that insect there. And that's I really like the sticky panel trap there. Really simple method, and this is the Lindgren funnel trap. So here's one of our parks nearby here in Orange County of California, and you can see how dense that canopy is. It's nice and forested park here, and that was in 2016, and then in 2018, you can see the loss of almost almost 600 trees lost. So it really opens that whole park up and turns it into a sports complex. So as far as management, research has shown that with a low infestation, you can actually leave the tree alone. That's 1 to 5 entry holes, and the tree has been found to have the ability to compartmentalize, so that tree can fight off the insect and heal, and you can leave it alone. But this is all dependent on your expectations from your situation. So if somebody has a prized 50 dBH tree that they really want to protect and take the measures now to protect it, then make that call. But what we've seen from the cooperative extension, this is the protocol we want to best follow, best management practices. So for moderate to heavy trees, those are considered 50 to 150 holes. So that's going to be those holes around that trunk of the tree that you find. And when you get to that infestation level, you want to offer a trunk injection. There's trunk sprays or soil applications. This image here is our Q-Connect. we're using emamectin benzoate to treat for the shot-hole borer there. If you get more than 150 exit holes on that tree, you can see just this one on the left is just covered with shot-hole borer. At this point, this beetle was flying away from here and looking for other hosts. So at this point, you do want to remove that tree. You're going to see dieback. It's going to be very hazardous. And then you want to chip to less than 1 inch. Moving firewood is very, you do not want to move firewood. That's very important. I've seen people cut their trees and then not chip them properly, make a big pile, and that still harbors that infestation. They can actually live in that material for months. Here's a image here where I put them in a cage and beetles were still crawling around 6 months later. So again, that's a long time. There's really great information with the cooperative extension at pshb.org, and they have a full reproductive host list, YouTube channels, and handouts. This image here, I put, this was a stump cut. The sycamore decided to still want to live and grow back, and so that still actually harbored the beetle. So the beetle is still living in that stump. So in this situation, you do want to look to remove stumps, as well as the cooperative extension has said you can bury that tree. So just covering it with dirt will actually be effective as well. Next is the Mediterranean oak borer. And this is going to be similar to the shot borer, where it also carries a fungus. This one, though, is from the Mediterranean regions of Europe, and is now discovered in Calistoga, our wine regions, and then it's also in Oregon. So it's in Northern California and Oregon. And that was suspected through being introduced through oak barrels, right? So that oak tree that was used to make barrels to hold wine harbored that beetle for months, transported here, and distributed further into our wine regions. So it's unfortunate. So it does prefer those weakened and drought-stressed trees. This one's definitely different in shape and size. It's more of the size of a pen. Imagine a mechanical pencil, be the size of that lead, about 3 millimeters long. And then the females have 2 or more generations per year. And then the siblings can mate with one another. And a similar situation here where they carry this fungus that feeds the larvae and adults, and it causes that fatal oak wilt. And again, so you can't translocate nutrients, water, essentially it kills the tree. So they do tunnel into that xylem. They create the galleries that are trellis-like. They're crowded and intersecting, no real pattern there. You're going to see frass, sawdust, that cracks in the tree bark, oozing sap. And then the difference with the Mediterranean oak borer is you're going to see the dieback in the upper canopy. So with the shot-hole borer, it's convenient and easy to go and find that on the trunk of the tree. It's unfortunate, but with the Mediterranean oak borer, it's one of those situations where it might be too late before you actually do find it, right? So it's got to start infesting that material in the canopy, and then maybe months later might realize there's some dieback there. So here's a good image of that dieback in the upper canopy. It makes it much harder to spot, and then again, that infestation has to build up. Here's a beautiful valley oak that I did a preventative treatment on for the Mediterranean oak borer. So they do like the valley oak. Pretty much all of our Quercus species: valley oak, blue oak, white oak, black oak, and have possibly coast live oak. I want to show the host range of that valley oak because so it can continue to spread along our valley oaks, and then jump to another host such as the white oak, and continue moving further north way up into Canada there. So this is the current insect range that I pulled from, I believe it was the cooperative extension, maybe it was UCIPM, but This was 2018, so I'm hearing from a lot of local arborist companies that it is further widespread in this area up in Northern California. And I pulled this from the ODF website. It is public information, so that's super awesome that they have this available. Their ArcGIS program, so you can go on their website and see where those current infestations are, and check that out. So management with these, you want to consider cultural control options as far as keeping your appropriate soil healthy, appropriate water. Maybe adding mulch, paclobutrazol is really helpful, and they prefer those weakened trees. So, like us, you want to stay healthy, eating properly, drinking water to avoid getting sick. Similar with these trees, keeping them healthy, robust is going to help them prevent them from any insect pests. Not saying that they still can't get it, but taking those measures is certainly going to help. If that infestation does come in, it's going to look for those weaker trees. Management options for chemical treatments. You can do a trunk injection with the mectinite and propiconazole. And similar for shottle borer, you want to kill the insect and you want to kill the fungus. And I must have missed that, sorry. So kill the beetle, kill the fungus with the insecticide and the fungicide application. You can combine the two. And then you can perform a preventative. It would just be the insecticide alone. There's also trunk and limb sprays. Similar, the same thing again, chipping to less than 1 inch. Don't move firewood. ODF has a really great handout on their website. It has a lot of valuable information that I was able to read through. And so if you really want to dive further into that, Oregon Department of Forestry has a great handout there. So going into the gold-spotted or Agrillus orogotatus, that's a fun one. So this is a flathead borer. This one is only in Southern California. So for my, this is all Western region, but again, only in Southern California. And it was actually only introduced over one state over. So this was actually native to Arizona. So you can imagine somebody probably came camping over here, brought their infested firewood, and taken over all of our native oaks now. So it has some distinct 6 orange spots on its back, and they prefer those drought-stricken trees. So our drought years, they really love a lot of our trees. Just not getting enough water, moisture reduces their overall health, and then that can increase wildfire hazards. So they have a single generation per year. Those females will lay eggs on those tree trunks. It's really hard to find the eggs. I have yet to see any. Very small, and then they bore into that outer bark and then get into that phloem layer. So they are a little bit bigger than the shot-hole borer. So it takes less of the beetles to actually kill a beautiful mature specimen. So it's about more than 30. It takes only about 30 to actually kill a beautiful oak that I've seen. And here's a larvae that I pulled out of a tree. So signs and symptoms, it is very hard to find the signs and symptoms. You have to actually really get close to that tree, almost as if you're going to hug it, and look for these distinct D-shaped exit holes. And then one telltale sign is looking at the actual canopy of the tree. You're going to see thinning, you're going to see dieback. So be proactive. And I think that's just for any insect, any pathogen. If something doesn't look right or doesn't look, something looks off, go and look at that tree and check it out and see if there's something that you can do to take the measures to save it. So you're going to find those D-shaped exit holes on the trunk of the tree, which makes it easy to find when you are close up. And then I scraped away that bark and saw just no pattern to their boring there. And then this is a coast live oak where, again, there was a whole stand of coast live oaks, and of all of those hundreds of oaks, I noticed that this one had thinning in the canopy, and sure enough, it was the only one infested in that area. And then they were able to remove that tree. So it really likes those coast live oaks, black oak, canyon live oak, and want to show the host range of the coast live oak. And the current insect range, as I mentioned, is only in Southern California. Few of these hotspots are actually camping areas. So again, don't move firewood. That's really bad in San Diego County. Just been hiking out there, seeing trees, 50 DBH trees that are just laying on the ground, and sure enough, can see all those D-shaped exit holes. Some management options, again, similar, keeping your trees healthy, deep watering during those drought years. That if we ever have, Southern California didn't get rain until February. So again, letting your clients or neighbors, HOAs, anyone, making sure that they're just deep watering and getting adequate moisture for those trees when they should be getting rain. That image here is a cool little card that you can actually put up to the tree to make sure it's the same size as the hole. I know I'm going to talk about emerald ash borer, which also has D-shaped exit holes. So using that card that the cooperative extension made is super helpful. So maybe that could be something we need for other insects just to match that hole size. So management options, you want to treat those high value trees. Again, every situation is different, but with 1 to 30 exit holes, research is showing that we can provide a trunk injection and have a high success rate of saving that tree. And that's our mectinite alone, emamectin benzoate. And that lasts for about 2 years. You can provide a soil application. There's bark applications. With 30 plus exit holes, you may want to make that consideration of removing the tree to save your other trees. I have some pictures up here coming up of some removals. Here's a beautiful stand of 25 to 30 DBH trees that were infested, and then after that removal, it's pretty heartbreaking to see it. But again, we're going to save the surrounding oaks, so we had to remove this stand to protect those other ones. And I've been repeating myself, but don't move that firewood is important. Here, somebody was doing this underground firewood movement ring that was going throughout all these neighborhoods and canyons, and but all that wood movement was infested material, and you can see in the backdrop is a coast live oak that died, and I want to say it's from that wood fire movement. So EAB is next. This is a big one now because it is out in the Pacific Northwest. So it was discovered in the early 2000s in Michigan and Ohio. It is spread across the country in only about 20 years, killing over 100 million trees. I think my favorite tidbit of info is that it is the most destructive insect pest in U.S. history. So that is it is another flat-headed borer. It has that emerald green color to it. They're going to be about 1/4 to half an inch in length. And as you know, they are killing the ash trees. Again, another handout that ODF has, if you are considering, if you're seeing other insects that are similar, this is a great handout to have handy. I really like that it shows what EAB looks like, and then a comparison of other lookalikes. So that life cycle, that those insects will hatch from eggs. They're going to be deposited by the adults on that bark in the crevices, and then those larvae chew through that bark and begin the feeding on the tree interior, and then feeding is complete in fall, and those larvae remain in the tree through the winter. And then those adult beetles emerge late May to mid-August. With this one, I think the most distinct sign and symptom is the S-shaped feeding tunnels. So you can see the image in the middle there. The top middle is the distinct S-shaped feeding tunnels. They will also have the D-shaped exit holes, about 1/8 of an inch. And you'll also see vertical bark splits, canopy thinning, and then epicormic shoots is the one image on the bottom left. So that Oregon ash, you can see the distribution here well across Oregon up into far up into Canada, and then that border, and then down into California, NorCal, and in the Central Valley. Just showing its spread on that eastern coast, and this isn't updated, but you can see up to date, almost up to date spread of where the EAB is. So how are we going to manage this? So there are a few different options. There's soil applied systemic treatments, and those are applied yearly. There's trunk injections, which are every 2 years. And then that treatment is going to depend on your tree, the landscape, infestation levels, and the time of the season. And that the dieback will start from, excuse me, went too fast there. Dieback starts from the top of the tree and then moves downward. I want to make a note for you all. This is very similar to the bronze birch borer, if anyone was curious about that one. I feel like there's been so much data that's come out, and so emamectin benzoate has consistently provided highly effective control for EAB for 2. And I was even reading that there's control up to 3 years on a single application. So the level of efficacy has been consistently recorded, and even where there's sites where there's large and very large trees under intense pest pressure, so it's still proving very effective. Here's a canopy thinning index. It's the Smitley scale of canopy thinning, and I really like this because it really helps give you a visual representation of the canopy thinning. And so at about 25 to 30% canopy thinning, you want to stop recommending treatments, and that's because it is too far infested and not a high success of actually bringing that tree survival. And then at 40 to 50% is actually unsafe for climbers to access. So this is online if you want to get a better picture of those tree dieback there, canopy dieback. So if you have infested trees, it's best to start those preventatives anywhere from a mile, 1 to 15 miles away. You want to treat those high risk trees, and then there's low risk, which gets to 15 to 25 miles away. And as I've been mentioning, we want to protect these mature trees in prominent locations, trees of historical value, and anywhere with urban canopy initiatives. And we do have a nice guide that I have a QR code here for, really well made. If you do want further information, please reach out to our new territory manager, Camila. She'll provide expert support around EAB. And she's in the Pacific Northwest. So let me see here. So so next is the South American palm weevil. Again, only in Southern California. This really likes the Canary Island date palms. This South American palm weevil was first found in San Isidro in 2011, and now it's as far north into, so we have Camp Pendleton down in San Diego County. So I've seen it as far north at the end of Camp Pendleton. There is a gap there. There's about a 20-mile gap between the next city. So there is a border, but I'm going to mention how far they can actually fly when they want to find food. They're native to Mexico, South and Central America. And this image is showing their cocoons that they actually build, which I think are super cool. So they'll pupate inside these cocoons that they make out of the fibrous bundles from the palm. So here's one of the cocoons sliced in half here that I was able to get from someone in San Diego. And so what happens is in that apical meristem, they'll bore and feed, and they'll destroy that apical growth. So you can't get any new fronds. You won't have any new fronds emerging if that's going to be chewed on and essentially destroys that. So they are pretty big. So it only takes actually 30 larvae to kill a healthy palm. I've heard from other folks in the area that it doesn't even takes a handful now just to start seeing the signs of a tree declining. Dr. Hoddle, a researcher down here in Southern California, was able to put one on a spin wheel to measure flight patterns. And so he was able to find that they can fly up to 25 miles on average, but he's seen where some that were able to fly up to 100 miles. So he's calling them the super spreaders, where they can super flyers, where they can, if they really want to find a food source, they can fly really far for that. But they are lazy, will just hop to the next tree to find food. Distinct sign and symptoms is the flattening of the crown, and there's notching on newly emerged fronds. So they don't look as uniform and as nice as they should when the fronds are emerging. There's 11 species of palms. I believe might be more now, but I just was at a South American palm weevil seminar, and one of the plant healthcare companies actually found it attacking bird of paradise. So thought that was really interesting that the Canary Island date palms are declining in numbers in the area, so they're trying other things now. So I thought that was really interesting. And only in SoCal, but showing where its favorite host is. Spread can be delayed with the removal of infested trees. You want to chip that material or bury infested material. Keeping your palms healthy is important, and timing of pruning is also important. Their researchers were saying actually prune in the cooler winter time when the beetle is less active, and they are attracted to the pruning cuts and wounds on the palms. Management, there's a variety of options depending on your situation. There might be, not enough soil to apply a soil application, so you can do an injection, you can do crown sprays, or you're in a high traffic area with the public, looking at what scenario works for the situation you're in. But you can do crown sprays and drenches, root and soil drench, trunk and basal sprays, trunk injections. What we've been seeing that's working the best is the crown and soil applications. Yeah, this image, we had a nice boom lift where we actually got up there, took the backpack up, and did a spray on that canopy. So that was a fun day spraying. We did a crown spray and a drench. You just soak that whole, what we call pineapple, and did an injection there and a soil application. I'm going to actually end that here. This is completely different pests. So if you have want to find more information, there's some great websites on some of these ambrosia insects and flathead. We have tons of material on all the flathead borers as well. These are some good websites that I put up. And I like this slogan of buy it where you burn it. Probably seen this along billboards or seen this along the freeways. If you do want further information, you can shoot me an email. Again, we have a great tech support team. And then this ISACEU code is for your records. I'm going to go pull up the chat here and see if there's any questions I can start answering. But again, thank you for your time. And I hope that was beneficial. I'm going to open the chat here. Let's see. So chat is this question. So it says chat is disabled. Enter your ISA number and queue questions into the Q&A here. So Kelly's asking if the slide deck will be available. This is available. This will be put online, so we'll have this up on our YouTube channel. This will be available on our website. We have all of our other recordings on our website as well. There, Sarah Davis said there is a new map of the spread, and that's also available. I believe that's for the shot hole borer. Are there specific times of the year that are best to observe wood shavings and vascular flow? Are there specific times? So for some of the boring insects, I think the best time to observe, I'm trying to think. I mean, honestly, any time. I think it's yeah, you just depends on the infestation level. So it's easier to find signs and symptoms when the tree is heavily infested. But I think at any time, if you start seeing canopy thinning, or if it's getting close to your area, start being proactive and looking for anything suspicious. Joseph asked, Agrilis variegatus is an interesting one. Is there any research looking at environmental conditions in the native range that can inform control and treatment techniques in California? I'll have to come back to that one. Can the chemical be used at the same time? So Jose is asking if chemicals can be used at the same time, and so that depends on your situation. So if you are coming to a tree where it's heavily infested, different modes of actions are actually going to be very effective in trying to save that tree. So, for example, our South American palm weevil, if you're coming to where a client it's on the edge of it's at the risk of losing the tree, but you might want to at least try to save it. I've seen where folks are like, we'll do a crown drench, we'll do a soil application, we'll do a trunk injection, and then you can train your treatment plan as you start seeing the health of that tree come back. So maybe just offering them one mode of action, but then switching it to giving different actions over time. Frank's asking, how prevalent are flat-headed borers in SoCal mesquite and Palo Verde trees? I haven't heard of any flat-headed borers in mesquites or Palo Verdes in Southern California. I do know that the Ambrosia beetle, specifically shawl borer, will go after attack Palo Verde trees. Generally, when the infestation is very heavy in the surrounding areas. Samantha, thanks. She's out in northeast, but great to, again, as I mentioned, we're getting the emerald ash borer jumping so far here. It's, maybe there's a pest that might head that way at some point. So just educating yourself on these pests and pathogens. It's great. Scott asked if we find a probable infestation, who should we report it to? I would contact your local ag commissioner. If possible, capture a beetle sample, and I think get and contact your local county ag commissioner. Contact your cooperative extension, and letting them know the tree, getting pictures, and maybe if you can, getting a beetle sample will be very helpful. Um, Significant differences with the new ISHP complex sensors. Uriel asked if there are any significant differences with the new ISHB complex identified in Santa Cruz. Again, as I mentioned, there's a whole new Ambrosia beetle in Santa Cruz County. Bay Area has the polyphagus shot borer, or it could be Kuroshiro. They're both morphological, or they're both almost the same. They're hard to very distinguish between the two, but the one in Santa Cruz, I want to say I don't know enough information around that one to speak on it yet as far as if there's any differences, but I did read that it was a little bit larger in size, and I've heard it's already attacking some of the same species, box elders and sycamores. So I'm sure more information will be coming out soon about that. Samantha saying, if you have a tree that is heavily infested, should you do spray and injection in the same year, or do you think that is too much? So if it's heavily infested, I would for sure do the well, that's a good one. It's heavily infested, I would look at both modes, but if it's you have to let your client know that it's at the risk of losing it just because it is very heavily infested. So letting it depends. So I would try it if it means saving the tree, but again with the expectation that you might not be able to save it if it's heavily infested. Um, Steven said he's been protecting his ash trees for more than 7 years with great success using transect and emamectin. Awesome. Peter, you can do the combo of mectinite and propiconazole in the same container. So if you measure DBH, see how much you need for both, you can put that in the same container and inject for that beetle, for the shottle beetle. What did you find as the best treatment for spotted launch? Samantha, I don't know. We could follow up on that. What she's asking about the best treatment for spotter lanternfly. I think that's it. But again, thanks all for your time. And um, there were some that I'm going to follow up with through email. So appreciate it all. Thank you.